Good morning. Morning, going.
Andy.
How you doing? You feeling better?
Oh yeah, I've been good for a while. I
Oh,
don't know
good.
why I got that crazy picture. I'm going to get rid of that crazy picture. I don't know why I got that on there. Oh God. I was for something else. I don't know what kind of thing I was on. I got to do a different one. How about this one?
That's better. No, the first one is awfully funny. I kind of like it, actually.
This one's even better. This one's good.
Yeah, there you go.
Good grief.
I haven't played with my backgrounds in a while.
I change them up for different things. I don't even know why that was on it. Maybe it was the last time we were on AKV3.
I think I've missed a couple, so let's see what we got. Okay, video filters. Let's see what I got here. What's this one? Oh, okay. There's a little doggy. Let's see.
How do you do those? I don't even know how you do those.
Let's first. So when you go to virtual backgrounds, video filters is another option.
Oh, okay. All right, I will try that. There's Lean. Hi, Lean.
Hi, folks. How's it going?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, look at you, Andy.
Yeah, I'm looking for something like maybe. There we go. I don't know what that is. Mouse, maybe? There's Bunny.
This is a very serious group, Lean.
I love it. I'm sorry I'm not on camera today. Otherwise, I would be joining you with these filters.
Okay, yeah, see, I can be a unicorn. So what does that say? Oh, that is a mouse. And that's a bunny. Let's see what it says. A shark. But it's not animated. It's not animated. It's not. Oh, there we go. Got me a little birdie.
Someone's playing with their screen filters.
Well, yeah. I want to be a cat.
I'll be a cat. Oh my God.
So then I can say I'm not a cat.
Cool. Yeah. Good to see everyone today.
There we go. Oh, I didn't mean for that to stay. Hang on. Let me make that go away. Oh, I guess I got to go back to none. Oh, there we go. There we go. Sorry. I'm feeling better.
Guy, I like your filter. You look just like a guy I know.
Yes, well, it would be good to. I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of shifting gears. I was facilitating another discussion just before this on the book by John Hagel on Beyond Fear that we've actually talked about in this group before. And so I'm kind of spun up on that, and we could circle back around on that if folks wanted to afterwards, but let's just kind of see what's going on. This is for the purpose of the recording, July 8th, AKV3. This is one of our just loosely organized Friday discussions that have continued to be kind of organically built around whoever shows up, generally trying to steer towards the question of what's next, Alaska, and projects and opportunities that relate to accelerating Alaska's transformation in our communities and our opportunities. But we've found these discussions can go in lots of different directions, but most of all, I've always been encouraged that these directions hopefully tend us towards action, whether it's connecting people to take next steps or whether it's been actually initiating different programs that have come out of these discussions. So they're always interesting. I think certainly for me, I appreciate the folks that keep coming back, and it changes over time as the topics shift. So anyway, thank you. We'll begin as normal, just doing a quick check-in with everybody. Again, the check-in is a little bit about, just kind of where you're at this morning, but also a little bit about, anything that you've seen in this last week since we've chatted that help us see a little more clearly the next Alaska and the direction we're going and opportunities there. As far as a discussion after that, I don't have anything formal there. I did indicate in the email. Could go in a couple different directions. This John Hagel thing, I'm all spun up on that if you're interested in that. The ammonia article that was published that I wrote in the paper, I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, is another place to go. Or there's also some projects we're doing related to climate change that Ryan and I are working on a proposal that I'd be happy to share what's going on in that. But we'll come back to that in a moment with some more updates after we kind of check in with folks. So let's just go around the horn. We'll start with Andy and then around to Dick after that.
Okay, well, nice to see you guys. I have an unstable connection to the internet, so I may kind of go in and out here. But anyway, so I think the biggest thing lately is 2 weeks ago, I had my 3-day intensive for my MBA Health Services Systems and Policies class. And so I had invited Jacqueline Summers to come in and do a workshop for us. And so she came in Saturday, but Friday, following a lead that I found in the textbook, I had done some a really quick deep dive on something called quantum leadership. And so I went through an exercise Friday afternoon on quantum leadership, which is thinking about, basically the exercise was intended to get people to open up their brains to thinking outside of the box, to break linear ways of thinking and think more systemic, I guess systemically, maybe organically. But anyway, so we went through this, actually spent most of the afternoon going through this exercise, and then Jacqueline came in and she did her workshop, and we went through some design thinking, innovation exercises, and then broke for lunch. When we came back, we spent about 2 hours trying to think through a solution for a problem that we identified. And it was just like, it was really intense because everybody came into it with their minds already opened and ready to be innovative. We came up with a really incredible solution to a problem. And it was just, to me, it was so powerful because, there were only 4 people in the class, but it just was, it didn't go the way that you normally expect problem-solving exercises to go. So, so it just showed me the power of kind of, well, of the process that Jacqueline uses to kind of get people to think about innovation. And it also really proved me the value of this quantum leadership theory. And so now I'm doing a deeper dive on that. And I'm really, really excited about it because it's the way my brain works. And I've never been able to explain to people how my brain works. And now I'm reading something that's like, oh, this is how my brain works. Now I can hand this off to somebody and they can say, oh, so that's how your brain works. And I've had that conversation with people. It's like, they don't understand how my brain can pull things together the way it does. So anyway, so it's kind of fun to know that other people think the same way that I do. But anyway, Other than that, I really have been focused on that class and teaching, and haven't really been out in the community a whole lot. But I'm kind of looking forward to getting out there a little bit more now that classes are wrapping up and I get a month off, so more or less. So I'm still waiting to hear if I'm going to move over to the health sciences program or not, but that's still out there up in the air. But if I am, I'm still going to be doing innovation stuff and other things. Probably continuing with senior project in the business department for a while anyway. So, all right, that's it.
Cool, thanks, Andy. I put a link also in the chat to something I found quickly about quantum leadership. It sounds like a really interesting area to dive into for those of you that are interested in leadership type approaches. But I love this beginning phrase here: quantum leadership is a process of leading from the future.
Yep.
Super interesting. And if
I
you
posted it in AKV3 on the Facebook page.
Oh, nice. Thank
So,
you.
and then I had actually made a comment about it on Twitter, and the author reached out to me. So I thought that was pretty cool too. So I'm definitely going to be taking a much deeper dive.
Nice. Well, I think it certainly fits in with the next Alaska and our mindset
yes.
about how we do stuff. Thanks for bringing that up. Dick, and then we'll go to Lean.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, Andy. I'd be interested to know more about what you're doing there. You know, when you first asked for a wrap up or a peek into what's happening, you know, first thing came to my mind, Kai, was this whole thing about homelessness. I don't know, it just popped up. And, you know, the situation over at Centennial Park where, you know, bears are being shot and people are being moved around. And, you know, I don't have an answer for it. I don't have an answer like do this. And so that made me think, as just little gray cells sparking off here, is, you know, how do we address as a collective in our state issues that are confronting us? And I know we talk about this, and, you know, a lot of my work is around bringing groups together to address issues either specific to a client or to a community. And, you know, I'm very concerned that a lot of the energy that we see out there, and I have to be careful myself as we get wrapped around partisanship and, you know, my way, rather than our way. And I'm just thinking about how do we create a forum in which more people can be involved in solving some of these issues, rather than, you know, just distinct groups, albeit each doing their thing. How do we create more of the whole from the parts? So that's one thing. I just got off the phone just prior. In fact, I was just hanging up when Andy was on, and I was looking at her name, and my name was up there before anybody else got on. Guy out in the valley, and he has this website called Elaster Energy, and his big thing, and I'm getting more information from him on exporting electrons from Alaska energy. And so I asked him if he'd be willing to come on our program. So I guess I'm asking permission, if it's okay to ask him to come on and have him share. He's a very creative guy. He's a Air Force vet, his father, 3 kids, great guy. And so I'm going to get some information. I'll send it out to everybody. If it's okay to invite him maybe to next week's meeting for a short dip into what he's thinking. So that's the stuff I got this morning.
That's exciting, exporting electrons. I love that. But yeah, the homeless situation is one that I think kind of begs for kind of the approach that we've been talking about here, and recognizing that that these are wicked problems. They don't have easy solutions that come from patterns, and the mistake that folks can make is assuming that they're straightforward problems when they really aren't. So I'm glad you're thinking about that, but we all need to figure out how we do that differently in the future. Lean, and then we'll go to Camilla.
Hi, folks. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. Lean, I'm here with Generator. We're a venture capital firm and startup accelerator that operates a G-Beta pre-accelerator program for early stage ventures and a skills accelerator for under and unemployed folks in the state. We've got some great updates to share. We worked with UAF and Professor Peter Webley on an NSF grant opportunity and submitted a concept paper. Well, they submitted a concept paper that will hopefully move forward to the next phase, which would be a letter of intent that would include like the G-Beta program, as well as some others accelerator programs, one geared more towards university students and another investment-based accelerator. So that's going to be a long effort. The full applications won't be due until 2023. So we really won't be expecting funding for quite a while on this. And it's competitive. They're only awarding 5 regions in the first year. So we'll see what happens, but we're really grateful for that partnership and look forward to seeing what comes out of that. In addition, yesterday I met with Eric at the Denali Commission. They've got funding for broadband, housing, workforce development, and economic development. They had some interest in doing grants, and they have a partnership, with the National Forest Service to support their focus is they have federal funding to support programming in rural Alaska specifically. And they currently are in conversations with the National Forest Service to do a grant and technical assistance program focused on small sawmill operators, those in the timber industry. And essentially they'd be looking to they were looking to us to help provide technical assistance to grow and scale those businesses, help them generate revenue. Very early stage conversations. One of the things that did come out of that was we do need a nonprofit partner in order to pursue funding through the commission, and because it's federal funds. And so, we'd love to discuss, and it doesn't have to be on this call, but an opportunity potentially to partner with AKV3, where you all could get some funding. We would get some funding, and then we could talk more if this would be more of a fiscal sponsorship, pass-through type of partnership, or if there's, things that AKV3 would want to, provide and support in some aspect. So happy to entertain that conversation today or another time. So those are some of the things that I've been working on recently, and maybe if it's okay with you, Kai, can hand it over to Linda to speak about the G-Beta program and any updates that she has.
Sure, go for it. Why don't you jump in there, Linda?
Okay, cool. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so we're actually, just last week, I input the new dates into our master calendar into the website. So we'll be starting this week. I'm starting recruiting. And I think the next G-Beta cohort will kick off at the end of September. I need to see, I think it was September 22nd that I've put in, but I'll share specific dates. So if you guys have any startups that are here locally that would like to participate, or if I can just meet with them and see what they're working on and help them out, regardless, like whether we select them or not, I meet with a lot of folks outside of the program and I help them out. So Andrea, I know I wanted to meet with you and see how we can, get some maybe students involved, that kind of thing, or at least to give them an opportunity, tell them, hey, this program exists. Do you want to apply? And furthermore, what happens is if somebody applies and they think they're too early, I just funnel them right straight into Upstart Alpha. And those ladies really help people culminate on the idea and what it's supposed to be, get started on customer discovery, just really help them think through where they're going, and kind of the next steps. And then they're a perfect candidate for G-Beta. So either way, it's a win-win, or I just meet with them on a monthly basis. Win-win regardless. So that's super exciting. We're so stoked for now that this is going to be our 4th cohort. Very, very, very happy about that. And then I'm kind of sort of on that note as well, what I've been thinking about lately is in between cohorts, part of what I do is I reach out to other investors to get connected, specifically in the Pacific Northwest. So I try to make inroads early on so that, I can provide them with deal flow with G-Beta companies or non-G-Beta companies. And one of the things that has been difficult that I found out lately is that, you know, a cohort will go through GBeta and we'll have our kind of company overview and the traction statement, but I don't have anything updated. And it's a little bit tedious to keep just emailing people, hey, update this, update that, you know, and then I have to put it all in a PDF and kind of send it to these new people that I'm introducing myself to and say, hey, check out all the past companies that have come. And I want to invite you to these future investor swarms. So I'm playing with some like just an early version in Notion. So I'm using Notion to create something that would be easily updatable by people, easily navigable by investors. So kind of a database that displays, not like a database, something easy to understand. And then quickly for investors to either generate, you know, excitement about a company or not. Either way, I want to make sure that we have this consistency to deal flow, because if they know it's consistent, they can start to really connect with us here. If they know it's occasional, then it's not really worth people's times, because like this business development for all these VC funds is also, you know, a lot of work, but it's like a main thing that they do. So if we can help them out, lower that kind of threshold of the work that they have to do, help our startups out, kind of meet in the middle. So that's what I'm working on. I'd love to maybe Kai like run by like what I'm doing by you, and I'm gonna run it by the cohorts. I haven't shared it with anybody yet, but just to get initial feedback on what this thing looks like and if that makes sense or whatnot, that'd be great.
Thanks. How was Las Vegas?
Yeah. Is that what you want me to talk about? Kai.
I'm just saying here, you know, we all have such rich, interesting lives, and I can't, you know, get past having a discussion about business and all the other stuff in Alaska without recognizing some of the exciting stuff that I know each of you are doing. And you've just come back to Las Vegas, I think. So how can we miss something so big as that? You want to tell folks basically what you're up to?
Yeah, so Kai and I are friends on Facebook. That's how he gets to know all this information. And so I do on my spare time, I Latin dance. And so we go to some of these big dance congresses, and there's amazing dancers all around the world that get together and they compete and or perform. But it's just super, you know, because we get to work really hard on our routines, and it's sort of like being on a softball team. It's like a co-ed sport, literally that's what it is. And we just travel for performances and competitions and that kind of thing. But
it's great, and it's an important message. I think also that the arts fundamentally are what inspire us. It's a necessary part of our community and our work to keep arts there, and it's one of the, you know, dance is one of the manifestations of that. And I think it's great you're involved with that and whatnot. A couple quick things before jumping over to Camilla here. One is, if you could let me know about the dates when you finalize them so I can get them in Startup Digest and onto the startup calendar in there. And we'll try and do that. Also, watch for the Alliance of Angels. They've just released a new innovation fund that appears to be much more open for engagement into Alaska and the companies here. And I've reached out trying to get more information, but I've always struggled with Northwest connections because it's just hard at that early stage. But this innovation fund seems to be a new tool that's out there that I think is important for us to try and pick up on. This updated information on startups is an ongoing problem, you know, is the focus of the EDA grant that we put in this fall is funding to be able to do that work. But I would also just note that Margot is maintaining a database, and she's probably got, you know, doing one of the better jobs of just keeping a personal set of notes that I access periodically when I need help trying to figure out who's done what. She's keeping track of what they're doing, you know, what each company has done, what programs they've been in, how they've done. So we need to, you know, aggregate these efforts one of these days. That's been, you know, one of the holy grails is having better information on our startups so we know what's going on. But I'd be glad to work with you on Notion or and the work that's going on there.
And I just posted the dates, Kai, and as you see, I did purposefully make it so that it ends before startup week or weekend, so that we can all play and participate. I
got you. Thanks on that. And then Lean, let's catch up after this on the discussion about some of the things you've got going on there. AKV3 already has a contract with Denali Commission for doing some of this work that's flowing through an intermediary, but we're now set up as a nonprofit. So hopefully we won't have to do that again. I'd love to figure out how to make that connection, because much of what you're working on is leveraging off of the same project that we're doing already. And so there'd be a natural benefit to doing that. But the other thing, just briefly, is JEDC has also gotten an USDA grant to be working down in Southeast Alaska in the forestry area to help grow and scale businesses. So I would encourage you to figure out how to partner with them, or at least be aware of what's happening with their grant through USDA on that. And I could help you make those connections. Primarily, I'd suggest you start off going through Martina, who you guys probably already work with through the
Wonderful, great. I'm happy to hear that, and would definitely love to offline with you, Kai, about it. And just to clarify, like very early stage conversations, nothing in motion yet. So would love to make the connection to JEDC and anybody relevant. So thank you for offering that up.
Yeah, and I think Linda also knows Martina there from the Angel Conference. Wow, so many interesting things going on. Let's jump over to Camila, because I'm sure she's got some good stuff too.
I really don't know how to fit in. I was like, how can I follow this? And yeah, just a quick introduction. I don't know if I've met everyone. I'm Camila Hussein Scott. I'm the Climate Equity Council Advisory Board manager right now. And so what the Climate Action, the Climate Equity Council is it's a group of community members that will provide input to the municipality on the planning and implementation of policies and programs needed to achieve the community's climate action and sustainability goals that are mentioned in the Climate Action Plan signed in 2019. And, you're talking about, I wanted to chime in regarding resiliency and, regenerative economy. And my place of work, I'm the operations manager for the Alaska Public Interest Research Group. For us, it is the empowerment of the individuals to be coming out of debt. For instance, we do debt counseling, all of that, to have individuals be independent financially, to be able to participate in a new economy in Alaska. I'm grabbing like from the grassroots there, empowering the people there so they can participate. And I've met with the Fairbanks Climate Action Council with Margie, and Beth was there, and we were like, how can we bring people in to be interested? And it came back to just connecting them on a personal level. We have all these amazing visions, but how can we bring people in to participate, and all of Alaskans to be able to participate? Because there's that disconnect, I think, sometimes. So yeah, we are kind of going back to the drawing board. ACVRG right now, we are requesting funding for having it's called an economic recovery or economic freedom hub, where people can come in and get counseling just to get out of, we're trying to avoid, like somebody mentioned, homelessness. It's all interconnected. There's complex systems. And we're just starting from the basis. And it is overwhelming if you sit there and look over the entire universe there to see, to go move forward. But we're kind of grabbing back a little bit and doing that. So that doesn't sound as exciting, but it's we're trying here. As we all know, Anchorage is very siloed, not just when it comes to, the businesses, the economic, different entities, but also culturally very siloed. I try to connect them all on a personal level.
But thanks, two things. One is, let's try and stay connected on this UAS contract that AKV3 is working on, because we're going to be doing climate impact scenario engagement in Whitehorse, Fairbanks, and Anchorage in the next few months. And part of what I want to try and do is bring in more people participate in that. But in particular, these are being directed towards how do we help the local governments deal with the climate change issues and develop their decision making around what they will have to do and how they will make those decisions. So there's a really close connection with that. And I'm hoping to leverage off of this UAS contract, additional work by AKV3 to have additional dialogues using this impact dialogue series that we've designed to do more of that. So there's a really key intersection with what you're doing and the work that we're trying to do in this area here. The other piece, I don't know if this came up with Margie, but some of the rest of you on this call may remember Margie led a lot of work with Michael Schumann on local investing. And that work is really profound because it lays the foundation for a lot of the innovation work, but also a lot of the strategy around how do we build the next Alaska where there's more engagement and support for investing locally. But the key thing on this is Michael Schumann's work is grounded fundamentally on investing first in yourself and dealing with your own debt and the structure of your resources. Because if you have all of your money tied up in debt, you can't invest in other things. And it's really about creating that pathway. So I think, you may find that this hub idea you're working on, if you could connect with Margie again on the local investing and some of the tools that are found in the Buy Alaska website, but also this work by Michael Schumann, I think you'd find some really powerful work there that dovetails with what you're trying to do in a way that then moves into innovation and investing more broadly as you've begun to invest in yourself.
Thank you. Yeah. And, connecting locally with the local government, that's the tough one with things in flux. So, maybe tying over to assembly that is a little more stable. I don't know.
Cool. Let's see, Dixie, you've been hanging out there. Well, what's happening with you this week? And then we'll wrap up with Pasquale. But Dixie?
I actually, on the 16th, I'm going to attend the Associated Military Spouse Entrepreneurship luncheon in town, and then I'm going to actually do a sit down with the command chief of their Elmendorf, he's retiring, so I'm going to work with him as a transition coach. And so this will be an opportunity to get our mission out to Elmendorf. We attended Operation Louise. There's a lot of folks that are out there looking to help do the same thing as trying to consolidate all the resources that's available and put them in a one-stop shop. I think it will be, but we're gonna have to overcome some powerful position entities that all want to take lead, but we're going to have to come together as one. And then I'm also working next week, the election out here in the Valley. And as you guys, I don't know, the question I have is you always talk about Anchorage. You kind of, does the Valley included in Anchorage when you speak of that equation?
Well, broadly, the intent of our group is to focus across the whole state. So while many of us are from Anchorage, it's not bounded by any local jurisdiction.
Yeah, just always, but it is. And sometimes we always think it's Anchorage only, but I know we're included as well, but it's just not noted. And then also, we're still doing, there's supposed to be another roundtable that you attended with Miss Dean. So that'll I'll attend that. But that's about it. Looking forward to a busy July, and that's about it.
Great, thanks. Is there a date for that next meeting with?
No, but I'm gonna call and ask.
Okay, great. I was looking forward to that. And then just so you're aware, I'm meeting with Graham Neuer this afternoon to try and get him engaged more with some of the innovation and military stuff that we've talked about before. So I'll let you know what comes out.
Oh, and also cyber, I got a notice from a couple people on LinkedIn, and cyber is coming our way. Cybersecurity is become more prevalent up here, and they're looking for more people. So I have one individual, she actually is a contractor, and she's going to be doing some training in September. So cyber is going to be the new wave of the future. So that might be something to look into.
Okay. Thanks. Pasquale, what's going on with you today? Are you in there? we'll come back if Pascal shows up. I'm just putting the link to Michael Schumann's stuff also in the link here, or in the chat if you're interested in that. Camilla.
Can you hear me?
Now we got you. Go for it.
Oh, I have so many microphones connected that it jumped from one to another one. I was saying that Camila has her hand raised, and I wanted to pass it to her just in case she has something to say about something that was just said before I jump into something new.
Okay, good. Thanks. Camilla?
Thank you. Just wanted to mention, yes, I'm in Eagle River. So whenever I do a function, when I attend an event in Anchorage and I do a meeting, I always include the Valley.
Mhm.
So just wanted to clarify that.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, great. We need to figure out how to a better way to, to make sure that it's clear that we're doing that, because right now we have reasonable good connection with Juneau, Fairbanks, Anchorage, and a few folks scattered around, but it does tend to be kind of Anchorage focused, but it's not intended to be, but that's good feedback also. Go ahead, Pascal.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Well, today, two brief things. One of them is just noting that there is that group on Facebook about startups that lately has been seeing an increase in both participation as well as the amount of members that keep joining it. So it seems like we are starting to reach that critical mass as we see that influx of new participations and members. The second one will be, I see some of the comments resonate with me about sometimes we see either two things happening, two different organizations or more trying to lead the same effort, and that brings to instead of leveraging efforts, to basically divide the efforts and not bring in the final product that could have happened if we have all synced and worked together. The second consequence that I see on that one will be that some folks that may have had the energy and the will to work on it, they start to say, well, you know what, I'm going to be working on that one because somebody else is doing this, so I might as well just give up and do something else in the meantime. And that's one of the benefits of AKV3, that we are trying to prevent those two things from happening, both by encouraging folks to join as well as to sync the effort. So the final product that we have, it's bigger than what any other organization would have done by itself in a competing mode. So basically going from what they call red ocean to blue ocean mentality and translate it into efforts instead of just businesses context. And what was the third thing I was gonna say? Oh yeah. The third thing is I should have said that first. I was gonna try to make my introduction short because there are those three things that have to be talked, and it's already 10:37. So I'm gonna pass my turn to Kai, and let's do that. Let's talk about those things.
Fair enough. Oh, now you've got us all on the edge of our seat wondering what's the third thing. All right. Well, so let's see, a couple things that I just wanted to chime in with, just as far as introduction. First off, I'm drawn back to this thought that I bring up on a somewhat regular basis, but it really is poignant to me at the moment. And that is one of the things about this group that we're trying to continue to work on, is this 3 levels of impact. How does what we do impact us individually in terms of tools and resources we can use? How can we use any of this to impact the organizations and institutions we're working with? And how do we use this to impact our communities and the greater good that we live in? And there's an amazing array of activities going on here today, and I hope you're all finding within that nuggets that are useful as takeaways today in all 3 of those areas. The notion that I was working on with the Hegel book, Beyond Fear, I think is a really important one. And down the road, if you're not familiar with that book, I would really encourage you to look at Beyond Fear. It's by John Hagel, and the darn thing looks on the surface like it's going to be just another self-help book. And how do we move beyond fear? But I've got to tell you that while it's got a really powerful personal message that helps frame it, it's fundamentally about a new world that we're moving into, about how organizations are going to create change that we need in this world in the future. And it's about the structure of creating opportunity narratives, about helping people find the passion for the work that they're doing, and how do we create learning platforms where we can share information and accelerate the learning and the work that we're doing through the action that we can accomplish there. So definitely encourage you to look at that. It's I think a underappreciated book because it kind of looks like self-help in there. And I'm drawn also as I go through this work to remind myself and others that the world that we've grown up in was designed around the idea that we're dealing with lots of kind problems. That is, if we can understand the problem well enough, we'll recognize a pattern in it, we'll figure out a solution we can apply to it. And that world has left us. We are now in a world of wicked problems that really rely on us being able to find a new set of tools and approach to how we deal with those problems that can actually be messed up if we try and apply past kind problem type of pattern solutions to it. We have to be very creative in our tool sets, and things like homelessness. We have to be able to help our community learn how to engage differently in those problems, because the old ways of engaging, of sitting down and doing a SWOT analysis and building a strategic plan, those things don't work. And if folks try and apply those old methods to these new complex problems, they will end up with the kind of mess that we have right now, where, you know, we have folks, you know, out there duking it out with the bears trying to get through the night. It is just really tragic to see that we can't do more, and how we step up to create the capacity to help our community do that, I think, comes about by beginning to engage in some of the projects that we're doing through the Denali project and this new UAS project and others like it, that begin to bring more people into the new approach that we're working on. So amazing stuff going on right now. I will kind of pause at that. With the few minutes we've got left on this, we can kind of go in a couple different directions. If there's a particular area you want to dive into, we can. The richness of all this other stuff here, I've just got a long list of things that have come out of this already. But I mentioned at the beginning, we could dive back into this Hagel stuff. We could talk about the UAS climate change project that we're working on right now, and the proposal that I'm trying to get done today. If folks are curious about how that's developing and how it overlaps with our Impact Dialogue series. And if folks are interested at all in the ammonia article, it was in the paper. It was a lead editorial on, I think, Monday or Tuesday that I wrote. I'd be happy to also kick in anywhere there. So let me pause and see if there's anything that resonates with folks, or something that's none of the above is all fair game.
I have a question, Kai, very quickly. There's a new book out called The Journey Beyond Fear. Should we buy both books?
Well, that's probably the book that I'm referring to by David Hagel.
Okay, that's the one. Okay.
Looks like this blue cover. Oops, now I've got my background zoom. See if I can put it in front of my face.
Okay, that's the one. Okay, because I Googled Beyond Fear. I'm like, okay.
No, that's the one. It is phenomenal. Okay. Like I said, don't get misled by reading the cover of it and thinking that this is about, because the darn thing on the cover says leverage 3 pillars of positivity to build your success. It's kind of like, not another self-help book, please. But it ain't. It ain't. Please ignore the cover of this thing and read it. I absolutely guarantee that each of you will pick this thing up, and if you read the darn thing, you're going to say, this is great. And if someone doesn't like it, tell me. I'll buy the book from you, because I'll give it to someone else at this point. It's good. These 3 pillars, and just briefly, the pillars are the opportunity narrative, which is about reframing how we see the world in terms of the opportunities. You know, it's kind of a truism that if you look for problems, you'll find more problems. If you find opportunities, you'll find more opportunities. And but it's really understanding the difference between opportunities and stories, or an opportunity narrative. Stories tell us about what we have done in the past. Opportunities are helping us explain to others what we want and are going to do in a way that engages them in helping us be successful. And you can write them for yourself, you can write them for your organization, you can write them for a region or a geography, but they're about creating the future in a way that engages other people to become a part of that journey that's in there. The second pillar is about the passion of the explorer and about this mindset of exploring and learning and recognizing that there's that the world is a new place. And as we harness the passion around things that really excite us, we have that intrinsic energy to take on the wicked, challenging problems that we have, as well as do the things that are fun in there. And the third pillar is the idea of a learning platform. And to a certain degree, this group and what we've been doing is a learning platform. It's sharing information, it's coordinating what we're doing, because learning platforms are about accelerating the learning through action that we can do. And John is basically positing that we really don't have any good learning platforms yet. We're starting to see the development of them, but they're the next new thing that will come along that engages people in an impactful way to learn together and to accelerate the work through action that they can do. I think it's a powerful book. It defines, I think, how organizations and how communities are going to work in the future. So I am obviously sold on it. I don't have any stock in it. I wish I did, but I would encourage you to look at it.
By the way, I as part of G Beta, I do teach people how to pitch and also just how to communicate. And one of the points that I make is how important titles are. And literally the example that I have is from a book that at one point didn't sell at all, changed the title, you know, and sells in millions. And so just pay attention to titles, guys.
There you go.
Make it something that's like juicy that people wanna go check out.
Sounds great. Thanks. Andy, I saw your hand up for a second there, and I think I talked too long. What's up?
Yeah, I don't know what happens every time I put my hand up, my Zoom window closes. So anyway, here we are. So I was just thinking, as you were talking about that book, the book I linked, put a link in the chat for downloadable version of Zero Distance, which is the book that I'm reading right now on the quantum theory, but quantum leadership. But it says essentially the same thing. It's talking about how the problems that, you know, especially social problems that we have are a consequence of our old ways of thinking, and that the solutions to those are to change how we think about them rather than to approach them from the same way that we've been approaching them in the past. And so, you know, this is it's saying very similar. So, you know, we now have two sources kind of saying the same thing, which I think is a pretty powerful statement right now, that we have these resources that we can refer to.
And I just build on that and note this other book that I just put in the chat, Range, is yet another piece that articulates the same issue about how the world is different. And Range, I think, does a really good job of clarifying in a lot of very understandable ways the difference between kind problems and wicked problems. And it really sets the stage for understanding why our education is changing and why we must change how we look at the problems that we're dealing with. It's also for any of you that are interested in education, you'll find the book is a really profound understanding of why education is changing, but also why it's unfortunate that education is not changing faster, because he kind of, without being too pointed about it, he kind of suggests that education is not keeping up with the world, and that the kind of problems, the way we work, basically the kind of problems, those are simple, predictable, pattern-based problems that we typically educate people to through domain focused areas, are the kind of problems that are going to be automated away with these new smart AI systems. And you know, he goes through this analysis, you know, that talks about the fact that, and Andy, I've seen this before. This is really painful stuff for you and I and folks that are in higher, you know, university education. But it basically, you know, it talks about this data that shows that most people that go through university education are no better at solving complex problems when they're done than they were when they started. They may have a lot of very specialized novel expertise in a, or excuse me, expertise in a very specific narrow area, but they can't use it in any other area. And our world is moving to the point where we have to have a range of ability to apply what we know in one area to another area. And really key part of this thing. Camilla.
This is so interesting. I just looked at the range and you explaining, you know, the generalists and all of that. And I'm pulling back on, because my specialty is, you know, public administration, and how we talk about our work and our livelihood, you know, here in America is based on, you know, the machine, the well-oiled machine working, the systems working. And, you know, what I'm finding, I'm coming in from social science, and you know, having the conversations is still relevant. Having the storytelling and going down and listening to people, you know, has been helpful for us to move forward, because then we can see where the problem is sometimes, and like, okay, now and you know, at the book here, range. If you're a generalist, you can tap into whatever you know and then go from there. And so I'm having a little bit of not an issue, but it's like storytelling is still relevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious, Dick, it seems like you've been teaching the critical thinking class at APU in the past. Is that right?
Well, critical thinking, that's not the title, but it does include critical thinking. And And this is really fascinating to get these new resources, Kai. I've long been a fan of Meg Wheatley, and she talked about quantum physics and things like this. And what Andy brought up this morning is great. So you're opening up lots of little neural pathways for me to follow here.
I expect so. I think
yeah.
range would be really interesting for you if you haven't read that already. It's really going to go to the heart of some of the critical thinking discussions, and yeah, it's cool.
Great.
Let's see, just a couple minutes left. I saw a note from Linda in the chat about what we're working on right now. Can you just clarify that? Are you looking, Linda, at just specific projects or priorities or anything like that? Because I kind of like to address your question, but I don't want to go too far afield with limited amount of time we have.
Whatever you think is the most sort of eminent, immediate thing that you guys have going on, because the other stuff we can probably discuss at a different time.
Yeah.
Where you guys are at.
Yeah. So what I'd say right now is that we're kind of involved in three things as formally as AKV3. One is we're spending a lot of time right now on getting this nonprofit organizational status nailed down. So there's just a lot of nuts and bolts that we're working on that are really creating the capacity and the foundation for doing work in the future. So that is quite frankly taking a fair amount of time right now. And Ryan and Pasquale and I are pretty active, you know, with that. And there's a lot of work we've got to do, from updating the website to the new organizational framework to bank accounts to stuff like that. So one is just, you know, the background minutia that we made a decision earlier this year. Second is launching the project we're doing for the Denali Commission, and what they have funded us to do is to take the impact dialogue approach that we came up with in terms of how do we engage communities in creating opportunity in the future. And they've specifically funded us to look at the capital projects that are coming through the Infrastructure and Jobs Act bill, as well as the other Denali projects that are funded through Denali, and look at how do we create opportunities for innovation, startups, and business expansion that can be catalyzed by those public projects. They recognize that public project spending has never been tied directly to economic and community development opportunities. We do the projects because we have capital dollars to spend, and that's great, but we never look at the question of, if we're going to build a broadband tower and we're going to build a windmill tower nearby it, is there a business opportunity for someone to develop the business to be able to install towers and concrete? Or if we're going to put broadband in, is there an opportunity to create a local business to do local internet service support now that there's broadband? And people are now going to need someone that knows a router from a switch. So that project is now started and funded at this point, and we're going to be pretty busy just learning how to be an organization that can do a fairly complex project like that. And then the third project is this one through UAS that we're being contracted again to use the impact dialogue approach that we're doing. So that's kind of the core thing, is this: how do we engage communities in creating the changes they want for the next Alaska that impacts their people and their communities? In this case, we're assisting them with a climate change National Science Foundation project that is looking at the impacts that are going to be affecting how governments need to make decisions because of climate change impacts in permafrost, wildfires, and rain on ice events. But we're using it once again as a way to not only help the governmental bodies learn how to make those decisions, but how do they shift into how do they find the opportunities that can create induced economic opportunity because of those changes. So that's kind of the core thing on that. I should come up with my elevator version of that, but I don't yet.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah, kind of interested in that second one that you mentioned about capital projects and how do you make opportunities out of that. I think that, kind of what we talked about in this quantum leadership theory, or having a framework to guide somebody through something like that, to come up with specific, like, whether they're deliverables or opportunities, and then just have them maybe even, I don't know, whether it's a database or something that for that specific location, hey, these are the opportunities that could exist. And so that anytime we're thinking, these are the potentials, like basically the potential of each community for business creation, right? Like, so what are these things that have that? Yeah, I can see that being a cool thing, a cool framework to guide somebody through and like develop that thinking.
Love to get your thoughts on it. We just got the thing just kicked off in the last 2 weeks. I'll try and send to you and Lean a copy of the summary. It's the project is called Ascent. It's an acronym, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for. I just know it as Ascent, but I'd love to get your perspective on this. And ultimately, we're trying to develop a platform that helps bring partners in to be able to see these induced opportunities for new venture creation or venture expansion, and to get those partners involved in seeing that. And it's all part of this broader initiative, Linda, I think you've seen me working on, which is how do we increase the amount of pull that is helping draw people into our innovation ecosystem, instead of waiting around hoping magic happens and business startups form around some good idea. It's how do we bring more visibility to the challenges and the opportunities in our community and connect people up with those challenges and opportunities to create investable solutions for the challenges that matter in our community, where we help move people in the direction that we need to go anyway, rather than hoping that we get lucky and they do something useful. And so that's why this also ties in, to the next piece of this fall, which will be taking another shot at the Alaska Challenge program. And in early September, we'll try and host that again like we did last year, but I'm going to try and spin it up a little larger this year in terms of how do we help communities bring forward the challenges that matter to them. And whether that's military communities, whether it's local communities in rural Alaska, or whether it's businesses, and create a showcase for all the challenges that are interesting and investable. And ideally, we want to connect that up with Upstart Alpha and with G-Beta, other programs like that. So as people see there's an investable challenge, if we come up with somebody that solves this problem, we connect them up with the resources to create a viable new venture out of that, and the support for them to be successful and sustainable over time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what you're saying is sometimes entrepreneurs create things that people don't want. I'm definitely been
and I'm game to I'm game to continue to support the idea that an entrepreneur can come up with whatever they want to. But I'd love to see a better balance in our ecosystem where there's, kind of half of the good stuff is coming about by folks solving problems that matter, that need to be done. And the other half is, the wishful thinking and the surprise. But right now we're all just sitting around waiting for surprises to happen. And I've decided that we need to, bring a little more of the force into this to draw people in the direction that we want to move.
Also, to continue the answer, something that it's also AKV3 working on. Kitty Farnham is not here right now, but she's also working with us on a project that is basically a database recopilation and presentation of organizations, people, and resources that are involved in business, and it kind of seems to connect with what you were talking about. Some of those, there's a little model, minimum viable product, if you want to call it, to how that may work. And now we're into the phase of gathering all that information database, presenting it, that connects with what you were saying. Some of the resources, Kai has been working on that compilation on his website for quite some time. So hopefully we'll get at some point all of it integrated in one product. So it seems like we are also working in the same fields that you guys have been working on or are interested on. So that will be a good conversation to have to prevent what we were saying earlier, to duplicate efforts or to avoid coming with two products that are the same, and so we can all come up with one that serves everybody's purposes and is useful for everybody. So that's a good conversation to have too.
All right, well, we're at the hour here. Any other quick comments for the good of the group before we wrap up today? Going once, going twice?
There's always so much to say right there when you say we're done with the meeting. But I wanted to very quickly talk about the, new ideas come from new people coming into the state. And I would like to start a conversation about immigrants who see gaps and are excellent entrepreneurs, and come from places where there have been highly trained professionals, and, welcoming some of the ideas, having them feel welcomed to, maybe have a discussion and an invitation, see what they can bring to the table. That's all. That's my little last minute.
No, that's an excellent point. I've made a note of that I'd like to follow up on with you, and let's talk some more about how we could do that in terms of trying to host some discussions. I know Kirk Rose and the folks at ACLT have done a lot to try and create some opportunities out in that area, but I'd like to figure out how to expand more of that, because it also dovetails in with the value of recognizing the community that Dixie's working with in the military. Because we have so many rich, backgrounds of experience and skills that the military has brought into Alaska. And many of those folks want to stay here when they get done, but they also live in the community while they're stationed here. And being able to bring that into the discussion is really important. So good, let's do that. Thank you all for joining us today. I don't have to run right away if anyone wants to stick around for a second, but we'll wrap up for today. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a great week.